Have you ever found yourself waking up multiple times each night just to pee and still feeling like your bladder didn't fully empty? Then come morning, no trace of that natural morning erection that used to greet you like clockwork. If you're a man over 60 and those moments of weakness, whether it's the dribble after you thought you were done or the slow disappearance of firmness in the bedroom, are becoming more frequent, you're not imagining it. And no, it's not something you just have to accept. Because today, I'm going to walk you through three simple doctor backed exercises that can help restore stronger erections and improve bladder control naturally, safely, and at home. Stick around till the end, and you'll leave with a clear, no guesswork 6 week plan designed specifically for men your age. And I'd love to hear from you. What decade were you born in, your 60s, 50s, or earlier? Drop it in the comments below so we can get a sense of the amazing men who are showing up here and taking charge of their health. No need for details, just your decade is enough. And if you want to keep getting practical tools like this every week, tap that subscribe button now so you never miss a chance to stay one step ahead. Now, before we dive into the exercises, you need to understand this: the loss of control you're feeling, whether it's dribbling after you pee, struggling to stay firm, or waking up 5 times a night, isn't just part of getting older. That may be what you've been told, but the real cause runs deeper. It lies in a part of your body that most men never think about until it starts to fail. It's called the pelvic floor. This group of muscles sits at the very bottom of your pelvis, forming a kind of hammock that supports your bladder, rectum, prostate, and even your sexual organs. It stretches from your pubic bone in the front to your tailbone in the back, wrapping around your urethra and anus like a muscular sling. And if you're a man, especially over the age of 60, this system quietly controls a huge part of your quality of life until it starts slipping. See, the pelvic floor has three crucial jobs. First, it controls the valve that opens and closes your urethra, meaning it governs how and when you urinate. Second, it helps trap blood inside the penis to support a full erection. And third, it coordinates your muscles during ejaculation, deciding when and how strongly it happens. So, what happens when this foundation starts to weaken? As testosterone drops after 50, muscle tissue naturally shrinks. You lose strength where it matters most. Add to that years of sitting on soft chairs in cars, at desks, and your brain begins to lose its connection to these muscles. The nerves stop firing efficiently. You no longer feel your pelvic floor working. Add in lack of physical activity, poor blood flow, weight gain around the belly, and pressure builds on the bladder and prostate. The result, a perfect storm. Muscles that are too weak to hold back urine and too tight to relax when they should. You start leaking when you cough, straining when you pee, or worse, feeling like you never fully empty. And in the bedroom, the blood flow gets interrupted, the firmness fades early, or it never really starts. Let's make this even clearer. Leaking after urination, what doctors call post-void dribbling, isn't random. It happens because the muscles that would normally push out the last drops have lost their tone, or they never fully relaxed in the first place. That's also why your stream may feel weak or choppy, especially if your bladder outlet isn't fully open. And for many men, an enlarged prostate complicates everything, adding physical pressure that narrows the urethra even more. But what about erections? Most guys assume it's just a testosterone problem. Not exactly. For an erection to happen. And last, you need three things: a clear signal from the brain, healthy blood flow, and strong pelvic floor muscles to trap the blood inside. Without that muscular seal, blood leaks right out of the penis and you lose your firmness. If your pelvic floor is too tight, that can restrict blood from even getting in to begin with. So you're either soft or painfully inconsistent. This double trouble state, leaking and losing firmness, is incredibly common after 60. Some men don't even realize it's connected. They just chalk it up to age. But when you start noticing things like needing to pee again right after you just went, or waking up multiple times a night, or no longer getting those natural morning erections, it's not just coincidence. That's your pelvic floor calling for help. And left unchecked, this problem doesn't just stay physical. It seeps into your confidence. It affects your intimacy. Some men start avoiding sex out of shame or fear of embarrassment. Others experience growing anxiety that only worsens the problem. It becomes a silent cycle, a slow erosion of identity. Now, here's where most men get led astray. They hear about Kegels and think, great, I'll just squeeze down there as hard as I can for as long as I can. But holding a pelvic contraction for 20 or 30 seconds at a time, especially without proper form, can do more harm than good. In fact, that kind of overtraining can actually cause your pelvic floor to become hyperactive, meaning the muscles are constantly clenched. And a tight clenched muscle can't function properly. It can't help you start a stream. It can't let blood in. And it certainly won't bring back balance. What's worse, if you try to do these exercises in the wrong position, say sitting or driving, you're often using the wrong muscles entirely. You end up bracing your abs, your thighs, or your glutes instead of activating the deep core muscles that matter. That's why it's not about squeezing harder or longer. It's about precision, controlled movements, breathing in sync, feeling the contraction from within, not forcing it from above. It starts with what we call the flick on, flick off technique. Short, clean contractions done in a lying down position where gravity isn't working against you. And it continues with a combination of release work and gentle activation that builds true control from the inside out. So if you've been told this is just a part of aging, or if you've already tried a few half-hearted Kegels and felt worse afterward, don't give up. The problem isn't you. The problem is how you've been taught to approach it, because what you're dealing with isn't irreversible decline. It's a system that's gone offline and needs to be retrained, rewired, and restored. And that's exactly what I'm going to help you do starting in the very next section. One breath, one contraction, one stretch at a time. Ready? Let's begin. Let's talk about the first and most essential step in restoring your pelvic health, mastering the Kegel. Now, I know what you might be thinking. I've heard of Kegels before. I've tried them. They didn't do much. But here's the truth. Most men are either doing them wrong or doing them without truly understanding their purpose. The Kegel, when practiced correctly, isn't just a muscle contraction. It's the neurological reset button for the entire system that controls your ability to urinate confidently and get or stay erect. And for men over 60, this isn't optional. It's foundational. At the center of this control system lies the pelvic floor, and within it, two specific muscles you need to care about: the pubococcygeus and the bulbospongiosus. These muscles are your internal switches. They manage when urine flows or stops, and they're what hold blood inside your penis during an erection. Without them working properly, every function that gives you control and confidence becomes compromised. That's why we don't start with medications, gadgets, or wishful thinking. We start by reestablishing the connection between your mind and the part of your body that aging, sitting, and inattention have slowly turned silent. Especially if you're over 60, chances are you've lost sensitivity in your perineum, the space between the scrotum and anus. That's where the magic happens. And learning to feel and activate those muscles again is like rewiring a dimmer switch back to full power. It's not about pushing harder, it's about turning the right switch back on. So let's get into technique. Forget the hold it as long as you can advice. That approach often fatigues the muscle, dulls your awareness, and leads to frustration. Instead, we train the way your body wants to function through rhythm, breath, and focus. Begin lying flat on your back, knees bent, feet flat on the floor. This position removes the weight of gravity and allows you to isolate the correct muscles without interference. Place two fingers gently on the perineum. You want to feel a slight lift, not a forceful squeeze. With your other hand, rest it on your lower belly. Your abs should stay soft. You're not bracing your core or tightening your glutes. Now inhale deeply through your nose. Exhale fully through your mouth. At the very end of your exhale, contract the pelvic floor quickly and lightly, just a flick and then release. That's it, flick on, flick off. No holding, no squeezing like you're trying to crack a walnut. You should feel a slight upward motion under your fingers, not a clench. Aim for 10 repetitions in the morning, again after lunch, and once more before bed, 3 short sessions per day, totaling 30 reps. It's enough to reawaken the nerve pathways without overloading your muscles or overwhelming your brain. And here's where most men go wrong. They think they're doing Kegels, but they're actually just flexing their glutes or bearing down with their abs. If your face tenses, your shoulders lift, or you feel strain in your belly or rectum, you're missing the mark. A correct Kegel feels subtle, controlled, and almost gentle. There's no pain, no cramping, and certainly no holding your breath. With practice, you'll feel that little lift in the perineum, just enough to know you've activated the right muscle. Why does this matter so much? Because doing it wrong isn't just a waste of time, it can make things worse. Overcontracting the pelvic floor can lead to chronic tension, which restricts blood flow into the penis and increases the likelihood of dribbling after urination. Instead of relaxing at the right moment, your muscles stay clamped. That means weak erections, delayed or painful ejaculation, and more urgency or frequency with urination, not less. On the other hand, when you train these muscles correctly, you don't just improve function, you regain control. You'll be able to stop and start your urine stream at will. You'll feel more responsive when aroused. And if you've ever struggled with premature ejaculation, this is your first line of defense, learning to contract and relax with intention. Many men report within 2 weeks of daily practice that they become more aware of their pelvic region. The sensation of needing to urinate becomes clearer and more predictable. The dribbling starts to fade, and for some morning, erections return subtly at first, then more reliably. This isn't a miracle, it's biology responding to mindful practice, and it begins with something so simple, but never ever basic. So if you're ready to build from this foundation, stay with me. Because what we're about to do next is unlock the second part of the puzzle, relaxing what's been clenched for too long. Without that, no amount of Kegels will save you. But here's the catch: strong muscles alone aren't enough if they're locked up and rigid. And that's exactly why the next step is crucial. Kegels didn't work. There's a reason for that. And it starts with what no one ever taught you to release. There's a reason for that. And it's not because the exercise doesn't work. It's because there's a vital step in pelvic restoration that most men skip entirely: releasing tension before rebuilding strength. Think about it. If your hand was in a clenched fist all day, could you right grip or even stretch properly? Of course not. Now apply that to the deep pelvic muscles, tense, stiff, locked in place from years of sitting, stress, and neglect. That's why, before we can truly regain control, we need to unlock what's stuck. And for that, we turn to something surprisingly simple: a tennis ball. By the time you're in your 60s or beyond, chances are you've spent thousands of hours sitting on soft couches, car seats, office chairs, and every hour of that has been quietly compressing the base of your body. The glutes weaken, the blood flow diminishes, and the perineum, the crucial bridge of muscle between your anus and scrotum, gets trapped in a low-grade spasm. You might not feel it as pain, but it shows up in subtler ways. The awkward stiffness when standing after a long drive, that strange tingling or pressure when trying to empty your bladder fully, or a frustrating delay in arousal. These are not random signs of aging. They're muscular warning signals. And until we release those trigger points, no amount of Kegels will activate correctly. It's like trying to flex a knotted rope, it won't move. So, where do we begin? There are two key areas we need to target: the outer glute muscles and the perineum. The glutes, particularly the gluteus maximus, are where much of the chronic pressure builds up. By sitting on a tennis ball and gently rolling these muscles, you essentially unstick them from months or even years of immobility. It's not about pain, it's about awakening blood flow. Next, the perineum. This small area is the silent conductor of your pelvic orchestra. If it's tight, every other muscle down there plays out of sync. When it's relaxed, your Kegels work better, your urination feels smoother, and erections become more responsive. Releasing the perineum is not just optional, it's essential. Now let me walk you through it. You'll need a tennis ball and a firm, stable chair. Let's start with the glutes. Sit tall on the chair and place the tennis ball directly under your left buttock. Cross your left ankle over your right knee to open the hip and expose the deeper muscle layers. Now slowly shift your weight in a small circular motion, no bouncing, no forcing. Just gentle rolling over the sore or tight spots for 30 seconds. Then switch sides. Repeat this cycle twice on each glute. Don't rush it. Breathe deeply. Your muscles respond to calm, not tension. Then comes the more sensitive but deeply rewarding part: the perineum release. Place the tennis ball on the seat right where it will press into the area between your scrotum and anus as you sit. Gently lower yourself onto it using your hands on the armrests to control the pressure. You don't want sharp pain, just a firm but tolerable pressure. Once in place, breathe in slowly, and on the exhale, let your weight sink just a bit more. Rock slightly forward and back no more than an inch or two, and continue for about 30 seconds. You should feel a release, not a stretch, not a burn, but a quiet letting go. That's your signal. You're on the right track. This simple practice, just 3 to 4 times per week, can dramatically shift how your pelvic floor behaves. Ideally, you do this after a light Kegel session or a warm-up walk. Think of it as clearing the way before rebuilding. The effect improve muscle awareness, better blood flow, and most importantly, a nervous system that stops treating your pelvic floor like a clenched fist. Here's the mistake most men make. They skip this entirely. They jump straight into strengthening exercises and wonder why things feel worse. After 2 weeks, they give up believing it just doesn't work for me. But the truth is, they were training muscles still locked in tension. That's like trying to pump water through a hose that's tied in a knot. Imagine a water pipe pinched tight. You can turn the faucet on full blast, but barely a trickle comes out. That's your pelvic floor when it's tight. Release that tension, and suddenly everything flows better. Your urine stream, your blood circulation, even your confidence. So if you felt discouraged before, if your efforts with Kegels or medications haven't delivered the results you hoped, this may be the missing link. It's not about doing more. It's about doing what's necessary in the right order. First, release, then rebuild. And when you follow that sequence, your body responds like it remembers what it was made for. And now that we've cleared the path, we're ready for the next key move, unlocking flexibility and deep pelvic circulation with a stretch so powerful, yet so gentle. It just might change the way you feel, walking, sitting, and being intimate. It's called the happy baby. Now we move into a stretch that not only unlocks flexibility, but restores deep pelvic circulation. By now, you've begun activating the pelvic floor with Kegels and learned how to release years of hidden tension with a tennis ball. But there's one more crucial piece that ties everything together, and that's restoring space. Most men over 60 don't realize this, but the pelvic floor can't function freely if the surrounding muscles, especially the ones in your hips, groin, and inner thighs, are stiff, shortened, and locked. That's exactly what happens with aging, prolonged sitting, and reduced mobility. These tight muscles act like a vice around your pelvic region, limiting blood flow, compressing the urethra, and putting excess pressure on your prostate. The result? Poor erections, a weak urine stream, and that nagging feeling that you never quite empty your bladder. But here's the good news. There's a simple, gentle stretch that helps reverse all of that. It's called the happy baby. And despite the funny name, it's one of the most effective positions to restore flexibility, decompress the pelvis, and enhance circulation to the areas that need it most. Think of it as opening up a rusty hinge. With the right angle and just a little movement, what once felt jammed and immobile begins to move freely again. So why is this stretch particularly powerful for men in their 60s and beyond? It targets three major muscle groups that directly impact pelvic health: the hip flexors, iliopso, so is the inner thigh muscles, adductors, and the pelvic sling itself. All of these become shortened over time, pulling the pelvis into a restricted position that squeezes nerves, arteries, and muscles. The happy baby stretch gently reverses that pattern, restoring balance and mobility. Even more importantly, this movement reduces pressure on the prostate and urethra. When the pelvic floor is locked down, it compresses these vital structures, especially if your prostate is enlarged. This stretch opens the pelvic outlet, allowing urine to pass more smoothly and reducing the post-void dribble so many men find frustrating. You know that sensation of needing to go again even after you just went, or that delayed stream when you're standing there waiting for something to happen. These issues often trace back to tightness muscular, not mechanical. Now let's go through the steps together. Start by lying flat on a comfortable but firm surface. A yoga mat, carpeted floor, or firm mattress will work. Bend both knees and lift your feet toward the ceiling, knees wide apart. Reach your hands between your legs and grab the outer edges of your feet. If that's hard at first, grabbing behind the knees is fine too. What matters is that your knees are pointing out and your feet are above your hips. Try to keep your lower back gently pressed into the ground. Once in position, breathe deeply. Inhale through your nose, and as you exhale through your mouth, let your hips sink downward. You should feel a gentle pull across the inner thighs and hips, but never pain. If you feel comfortable, lightly use your arms to guide your feet downward, creating more space in the pelvis. But again, this is not a stretch for intensity. It's about softening, releasing, and expanding. Hold the pose for 40 seconds, keeping your face, neck, and shoulders relaxed, then release slowly. Aim for 2 rounds each evening. This is an ideal end of day stretch when the body is warmer and the mind is more open to letting go. In fact, many men find that doing this right before bed not only improves their urinary flow, but helps them sleep more soundly with fewer nighttime awakenings. So, how does this actually help your pelvic health? For one, it enhances blood flow to the deep arteries that feed the penis bladder and surrounding tissues. It also helps relax the muscles that support the bladder neck, allowing for a more complete and less interrupted urine stream. Over time, you'll notice less pressure, less urgency, and even improvements in your morning erections. Think of it as hitting the reset button for your pelvic foundation. You're not just stretching, you're restoring natural function that's been blocked by years of accumulated tension. Some men describe a lightness in their lower body after just a few sessions. Others feel a stronger connection to the muscles they'd forgotten how to activate. If you've ever seen the deep squat position in Yoga Malasana, you'll recognize some similarity here. That ancient posture mimics how our ancestors naturally aligned for elimination and pelvic release. The happy baby stretch brings that same benefit without requiring strong knees or balance. It's accessible, safe, and deeply effective, especially when combined with the activation and release work we've already covered. And now that your pelvic floor is stronger, looser, and more spacious, we're ready for the final step, bringing it all together in a daily rhythm that's sustainable, effective, and customized to your body. Because this isn't about just one exercise. It's about building a lifestyle of pelvic vitality, one day, one breath, one habit at a time. Now that you've learned the 3 essential exercises, activation, release, and stretch, it's time to bring them together into one powerful habit. Because let's face it, knowledge without consistency changes nothing. That's why I've crafted a simple, realistic 6-week plan tailored for men over 60 who want real results without stress. It fits into your life, not the other way around. Each day starts with just 10 quick Kegels the moment you wake up. Breathe deeply, pulse gently, and reconnect with the muscles that matter. Do it again after lunch to stay activated, then once more before bed to lock in the rhythm. This alone takes just a few minutes, but that consistency begins to rewire the connection between your mind and pelvic floor. In the evening, shift into relaxation. While lying on your bed, do 2 rounds of the happy baby stretch, 40 seconds each. No strain, just slow breath and soft release. And 3 to 4 nights a week, add tennis ball work. Gently target the glutes and perineum, especially on days you've been sitting long or feeling tense. Altogether, the full routine takes only 10 and 15 minutes a day. No equipment, no side effects, just your commitment to change. So what will you notice? In weeks 1 and 2, the reconnection begins. Your awareness sharpens. You feel the base of your body again. Urine flows more deliberately. You sense the muscles responding. By weeks 3 and 4, the deeper gains emerge. Morning erections might return. Dribbling reduces. Sleep improves. You no longer wake urgently through the night. And by weeks 5 and 6, confidence returns, not just physically, but emotionally. You move with assurance. You feel more present. Intimacy becomes less about performance and more about connection. This process isn't just physical, it's personal. Because aging doesn't mean surrendering control. Your body isn't broken, it's just been quiet, waiting for the right signal. When you give it that signal consistently with patience and clarity, everything begins to shift. Not overnight, but steadily week by week. And the real reward, dignity. Not in a loud, dramatic way, but in the quiet knowing that you've taken back something essential. That you've reclaimed rhythm, presence, and trust in your body. Now, I'd love to hear from you. How did today's message resonate? What part hit home for you? Share your age, your birth year, and where you're watching from. We genuinely value knowing who's on this journey with us. And if you found this helpful, subscribe so you never miss tools and insights that help you live better, longer, one day at a time. And now, it's your turn. Start today. Stay steady. Rebuild the connection that was always yours.